In this video, I'll be taking a look at the Jaybird X3 Bluetooth earbuds. For several years, Jaybird Sport earbuds have been my go-to for wireless sound, particularly for mountain biking. The fact that they're sweat-proof is a huge benefit for me because I live in an environment where the summers are very hot and humid, and I sweat all over these things when I'm mountain biking. The features have really improved over these, particularly in the firmware. While I'm doing this review, I'm also going to compare these to the Freedoms, since these are the two offerings by Jaybird Sport right now. When the Freedoms came out, they had some really nice features with an app on the phone, and they have carried those features over now to the X3s. So let's look at these up close. Let's first look at what you get with these. In typical fashion from Jaybird, you get a really good high quality box with a magnetic enclosure, so all your goodies are going to be in there. You get a really decent bag with these, and it's really easy to use. It's got the spring-loaded hinges, so I use this all the time. Every time I transport these, when I throw them in my backpack, I use this bag. It's kind of an imitation leather, so it's good quality. Again, it's very handy, and I use it all the time. You get 3 different size ear tips. I use the medium. These are really important, and I'll talk about these in a minute when I talk about the fit. You also get 3 different size silicone ear tips in a bag, and you get small, medium, and large. I use the foam ones, and I'll again talk about that also when I talk about the ones that I prefer. You do get the isolation tips from Comply Foam. So they do include these, which is a very good move. They used to include the sport tips. I didn't like the sport tips. I actually made a separate video that talks about which Comply Foam tips I prefer. I actually prefer the comfort tips, so those are not included, and I'll show those up close, and I'll talk about why I prefer those tips. You do also get some fasteners, so you get a little clip, and if you prefer to wear the earbuds behind your head, you get these little retention devices to manage the cord. I don't wear them behind my head because I use them for cycling. I think it's easier just to let them dangle it down. But if you're going to the gym or going running and you don't want the cords flopping around, that's a really good way to wear those. This is the charger that comes with the earphones. It's a regular USB that you would plug into a computer or anything that would charge USB. And then this device actually comes off. So if you wanted to just carry this charging unit, then you could just carry that along with you if you had a cell phone that used a micro USB charger. So you would just plug that in. And this is obviously a proprietary charger. Now, if you're familiar with the previous Bluebud X and X2s, you did not need that proprietary charger. So you just got to keep that in mind, that you cannot charge your earbuds without these. So you got to make sure you keep those with you. I do keep these in my backpack whenever I carry the earbuds. So it's a little finicky sometimes getting this to clip on. That did it right away, but sometimes if you do it the other way, it won't snap on. And so sometimes I'll be fidgeting around with this. You just got to kind of remember which way this goes. If you can keep that in mind, it's not too bad, but like I said, it does not go on this way, so just got to be aware of that. Now let's look at the earbuds themselves. I like the design of these. It's a little bit more of a clean, polished look than the X2s. The controller is a little bit more streamlined, a little bit smaller. And the earbuds themselves just have a little bit more of a polished look to them. So really nice job on these. I like the grip that you get for inserting these into your ears. And again, I'll do a little bit of a comparison with the Freedoms. The Freedoms, you don't really have as much surface area to insert these into your ears. So I do like that about the X3s. You'll notice the ear tips are curved, and the newer Jaybird earbuds I have been able to wear without the ear fins, but I still use them because it just gives such a secure fit. Now I will say if you use these, the earphones, and you're not used to using them, you'll get a little bit of ear fatigue in the beginning because it puts a little bit more pressure inside your ears. It's not a big deal. You do get used to it. It doesn't bother me anymore at all. But if you're new to wearing these with earphones, you will get a little bit of ear fatigue with that pressure. Now you'll notice these are curved. So this is, you've got to wear these with them curved inward like this. And it obviously shows you in the instruction manual how to wear these. Again, I use the mediums and I get a really secure fit with these. Now you'll notice I do have the Comply Foam comfort tips. I think these to me give the best fit, and the reason is because the isolation tips, I've used those before, those are what's included with the earbuds. Those insert actually a little bit too far inside my ear, and in one of my ears it'll get pinched off a little bit because it extends so much into the ear. The comfort tips are a little bit more stubby, and they both give really good isolation from outside noise, and that's why I prefer the foam tips over the silicone tips. The foam tips, you do get a little bit of recessed mids and highs compared to silicone. It's not very noticeable. If you have a really particular ear, you will notice that the mids are not quite as clear, but again, it's so minor. It's a trade-off for me because I really like the fit that I get with these. And once these are in your ear, so you kind of squish them down a little bit, insert them into your ear, they will expand. Once they're in, they stay very secure and they block a lot of outside noise, which is really important for me for cycling, for mountain biking, because you get some wind noise and these foam tips really block that wind noise. I do want to show the fit of these. And by the way, I leave these around my neck a lot of times. If I'm listening to music at work and then I would need to take them out, walk around the office or whatever, I can leave these just dangling around my neck, which is kind of cool. And if I need them really secure, I'll tuck them under my shirt. If I'm cycling, I'll tuck them into my jersey when I'm not using them, and that keeps them from bouncing off if I need to keep them kind of accessible. So the ear fins fit kind of right inside this portion of the ear, and like I'd mentioned, I don't wear these over the ear, but I'll show that real quick here in a second. But really good fit. If I want the absolute best fit, I can squeeze the foam and then stick them here. But it's a really secure fit. When I'm mountain biking, I put them between the helmet straps, and they absolutely do not come out of my ears when I'm riding. So it's an excellent fit. And if you want to put them over your ears now, you would have to flip the ear fins around and adjust them. But the nice thing about these is there's so many different fit options that you can do. So this is how they would come over your ears. You would secure the straps in the back of your head with the little clips. So a lot of different options, and I would recommend when you get these to play around with the different configurations and find the best fit that gives the best sound isolation, because you really want the foam tips or silicone tips to have a tight seal so that it not only blocks out the noise, the outside noise, but also gives you a really good solid bass response. Button function on these has not changed from previous models, and that's a good thing because of all the Bluetooth earbuds I have used, the Jaybird earbuds are the most intuitive. So I'll just go over these real quick. This is your volume up button here at the top, and so you would just tap that each time. It's going to go up a level, and volume down here. Also, if you want to skip a song, you would hold that down for 2 seconds. It would skip. If you want to go back to the beginning or go to a previous song, the minus button, it's hard to see in the video, but there is a little minus sign here. You would hold that down for 2 seconds. The center button has several features. Main one that I use is play and pause and power on. If you want to reject a call, you can hold it down for 2 seconds. If you want to answer a call coming through, then you would just tap the center button. While I'm talking about calls, I've had absolutely no complaints by people on the other end listening to me. These are also very useful if you want to take hands-free calls. If you're working at your desk, you need to talk hands-free. Very good option for that. The center button will also access Siri on iPhones or Google Now for Android phones. And you would just hold this down for 2 seconds. You'll hear a tone, and then about another second or two, it'll pick up Siri or Google Now. So that's a very useful feature. The firmware for the X3s has been updated compared to the original Blue Buds X and the X2s. It is now very similar to the Freedoms. And you now have the option to use the My Sound app on your phone, which I'll show up close. And one of the most useful features is that you now know the battery life. So when you power the earbuds on, it will tell you the battery life in 20% increments. So fully charged, 80%, 60%. The nice thing about the phone on Android phones is you get an exact battery reading, which again is very handy. So no more guessing how much charge you have left in the earbuds. So I'm going to power these on, and I'm going to hold them up to the microphone as I do so. It says battery 80%, if you could pick that up in the video. You'll also, it gives an announcement that when the headphones are connected. It said it twice on these because I actually have these connected to my phone and my iPad, which is really nice that you can connect to 2 devices. So, for answering calls, it's connected to my phone, listening music, phone, or iPad. When you power the earphones on by holding them down for 2 seconds, you do get a green light that comes on, which is nice if you don't want to stick them in your ears to really listen for when they come on. And it blinks when it's connected to your phone. And powering them off, you hold the button down for about 5 seconds, and you'll get a red light that comes on when they are powered off, which again, if you have them sitting on your desk and you want to power them off, you can watch for that red light to know when they're off. Now I want to talk about the sound of these, because sound is extremely important to me and probably important to a lot of you watching this video. One thing that I appreciate about the Blue Buds X, the X2s, the X3s, the Freedoms, is they all have such good sound. The bass on these is very strong. The mids are clear, the highs are fairly crisp. So you get a very decent sound stage, and for a Bluetooth earbud, it's going to be hard to beat the sound of these. Let me do a little bit of comparison with the Freedoms now as I talk about the sound and some other features. So staying with sound, the X3s are going to have stronger bass than the Freedoms. But the mids and highs are not quite as clear on the X3s compared to the Freedoms. Now they still are very clear on these, and there's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable if you just have that audiophile type ear and you like that really clean sound. Continuing with the comparison to the Freedoms, these have an 8-hour battery life, the X3s. The Freedoms have a 4-hour battery life because they're a little bit smaller. Now with the Freedoms, you do get this little dongle here that is not only your charger, but it also extends the battery life. So if you had this with you and you wanted to unplug it, you could snap it onto the back of the controller and you get an additional 4 hours of battery life, and it'll actually charge the earphone. So even though there's half the battery life in the Freedoms, you do have that option. Now obviously if you're out mountain biking or running, you're probably not going to be carrying this thing with you. So if having that extra battery life is very important, then the X3s are probably going to be what you want to choose. I had mentioned the extra grip that you get on the X3s when putting them in your ears. Also, they have a ridge here on the back that holds the ear fin in the correct place, because the ear fin cannot be right up against the tip. It needs to be angled out a little bit to have the position of the earbuds correct in your ears. So with the Freedoms, there's not that ridge, and so you really got to just kind of place it about where you think it needs to be. With the X3s, you do have that ridge already there. When I did my review of the Freedoms, I had mentioned a slight issue with the fact that there is a pretty sizable gap between volume levels 2 and 3. And with some music, it was hard to find the right volume level. And that was really inconvenient for me, particularly if I was sitting at a desk listening to music. One level would be too loud, one would be too soft. And it happened on Android and iOS devices. With the X3s, it's still there a little bit on my Android phone, which is a Google Pixel, but with my iPad, it is not there at all. So I don't know if now with the X3s, it's an issue with the phone itself, but even on my Android phone, it's not as prevalent on the X3s as the Freedom. So I did want to mention that in case you did see my review on the Freedoms. I'll take a quick look at the My Sound app on the phone, which again is very useful for fine-tuning your sound. Before I do so, I do want to point out on Android phones, you do get an exact reading of the battery life. So if you can see that in the video, it does say 88% on the battery life. So the headphones are obviously on, and so you do get the reading that you can do from a pull down showing the battery life. So going into the My Sound app on the phone, you can adjust the sound profiles. You can pick some pre-selected ones, and they have Carrie Walsh's sound profile that she prefers, I suppose, Nick Raimondo, or you can set your own. So if I wanted to set my own, the highs are on the left, the highs are on the right, and the lows are on the left. So I'd go to Customize, and now I can drag, and you can really get specific here. So you just would grab these little dots and really adjust it to your listening preferences. I kind of prefer more of a flat sound, but if you wanted more highs, you could just adjust those, more bass over here, and then once you're done, you would hit save, and that would save that sound profile. And then you can set different ones, you can name them, and there is a reading here on the bottom right. If you can see that, it shows the exact reading. So even though you don't have that reading on an iOS device like you have on Android, you can go into the app and look on the bottom right and get an exact reading. So the My Sound app is really nice. The cool thing about it is it actually sets the firmware of the earphones. And so when you close the app down, it keeps it set until you would open up the app and adjust it again. So you don't have to have the app open or connected directly on that device to take advantage of that sound that you set. So in other words, it's going to stay set in the earbuds until you open the app again with the earbuds connected to the phone and then change it. So the My Sound app is a really nice upgrade that Jaybird brought to the Freedoms and now to the X3s. So if you're looking for a good high quality Bluetooth earbud with good sound and good features, and you're willing to pay a little bit more for that quality, I can give the Jaybird Sport X3 earbuds my highest recommendation. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. And if this video was helpful for you, give it a thumbs up for me if you don't mind. Thanks for watching.